Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here. It was a fascinating evening, talking about artificial intelligence, about blockchains, bitcoins, augmented reality. It's really fascinating. I'm going to talk to you about a cookie jar. It doesn't sound as fascinating, but it's real. I'm going to talk to you about a cookie jar. And I can promise you one thing, is that you will never look again at the cookie jar the same way after tonight. But first, let's start and do a little exercise. You don't have to close your eyes. You can if you want, for the motivated people. Imagine a big cookie jar in the middle of a table, surrounded by kids. Kids everywhere looking at the cookies. The cookie jar is the planet. The cookies are the environmental services provided by Mother Nature. And the kids are you, me, the companies, and the global population. And then suddenly, you open the cookie jar, and then what do you think is going to happen? The kids love cookies. They're going to eat the cookies, and quite quickly. And you will see that if you don't progressively add new cookies into the cookie jar is going to become an empty jar quite quickly. And that's a problem, because at the end, when the last kids have eaten all the cookies, they will look at each other and say, "Oh, it was nice, but where are the cookies? There are no more cookies. Who can make cookies here?" They didn't learn how to make cookies. They didn't ask Mother Nature to put more cookies. And you're left with nothing. That's exactly the same problem with the environment today. We've been used to just taking all the time and not giving back. That's a big problem, because if you keep taking all the time and you don't give back, it's not sustainable. You disrupt the balance. And that's what I want to share with you tonight. And I give you a bonus, because they said 6 principles. I'm going to give you 7 principles tonight. That's also some kind of augmented reality, maybe. And these 7 principles could probably be principles that could save the planet if we apply them. And I hope you will be able to take at least one of these principles with you and apply it in your day-to-day life. So let's start with the first principle. And as you know, most companies, they create jobs, they innovate, they invest money, they take risks. And it's great, because they can make profit and they privatize profits. That's all fine. But what's not fine is that while they make money and make profits, they create impacts. They destroy progressively the environment. And that's not privatized. That's something that they transfer to you and me, to the society, to future generations. And it's not okay to make money with something and transfer the negative impacts to future generations. That's totally not okay. This makes me really angry. I don't look angry, but it makes me really angry. So it's very important, and that's, privatizing the profits is okay if you privatize the impacts. So that's probably the most important principle we need to apply today by, for example, becoming CO2 neutral. Or, I'm going to give you another example of what's happening today. On a yearly basis, worldwide, we emit approximately 36 billion tons of CO2. That's a lot of zeros behind 36. And if you know that each ton we emit into the atmosphere has a cost to society, and that's a study from Stanford University, has a cost to society of around $220 per ton you emit. If you multiply, I'm not going to do the multiplication, but if you multiply both, you get a lot more of zeros. And that's a climate debt we transfer on an annual basis to you and to the future generations. And that's not okay. So we need to think about this and realize that we need to do something about it. The other principle is, today we live in a global economy. Everybody knows this. Everybody says we live in a global village. And it's true, nothing today, or nearly nothing, everybody's got a smartphone. The smartphone you have in your hand is a collection of loads of little pieces that have traveled around the world and have created jobs around the world and transited lots of countries and have had impacts everywhere in the world. So it's very important to realize when you buy something, it's not just Belgium, it's not just America, it's not just China, it's not just Germany or France, it's all together. It's coming from all over the world. So in a global economy, we also have a global responsibility. So that's very important to keep in mind. The third principle that's really interesting as well and is clean energy or cleaner energy. You know, people in Africa, for example, they cook inefficiently with wood, charcoal, and it's killing them. They breathe the smoke. They have bad health because of that. And if we help them getting cleaner energy and clean energy in general, they have a better health. They have more money. They can access education. And once you give access to education to children, to boys and girls, or girls and boys, and especially women, we empower women to access education, you also address another problem, birth control, because population growth is also one of the big issues and the big challenges we have today to fight climate. So by developing and investing in cleaner energy, we also make sure that we're going to have a cleaner development. The fourth principle I want to share with you is stop. Stop chasing discounts, always looking for the cheapest products. When you go always for the cheapest stuff, well, somebody is always going to lose somewhere down the line because the products, some products are made in Bangladesh. If you always press like a lemon people or the environment, well, then there's always someone losing. And at the end, we're all losing. So it's all connected. And it's very important that we stop discount the planet. The fifth principle, it's about democracy. It's not just going to the elections and choosing your politician because you never really end up with the one you really wanted to have, that is in power and is going to decide for your future. And today, and that's a great thing, is that the real democracy today is the fact that if you don't like a company, if you don't like the way they treat people, if you don't like the way they take care of the environment, well, you don't have to buy from them. If you don't buy from them, they will run out of business or they will adapt and respond to your requirements, to the things that are important to you. So the only democracy today, I believe, is your buying power. Don't forget this. And this is probably one thing you can take tomorrow with you, is that by shifting your buying towards responsible companies, towards responsible people, you can drive the change, and more quickly than you think. The sixth principle is that we don't live in isolation. We're all interconnected. If we don't help the people in developing countries, you know what's going to happen. If I was living in the Sahel and then suddenly my crops don't grow anymore, I've got 5 kids to feed, what's going to happen? I'm going to look for a better future in Europe. I'm going to walk as long as I can to save my family. So it's very important to know that we need to help people in developing countries because it's also helping us. And also because if they cannot live in their regions, then they're going to do anything to save their families. They're going to cut down all the trees that we need to get oxygen, because they have the forests. They have forests in South America, in Central Africa, and Indonesia. Wood has a value. They're going to sell it. They're going to cut it down or sell the land to people with less ethics. And then our oxygen will be gone. So it's very important to know that we're all interconnected. So we are all in this together. So that's the sixth principle. Never think Belgium only, America only. And then the last principle, I think, and that's something also you can immediately apply, and that's give back. Give back. Put some cookies back. Learn to make cookies. Put some cookies back into the cookie jar. Fill the empty cookie jar by adding cookies. And make sure that when you take a cookie, you also add one. If you take two, add two. And maybe this way we will be able to stop this distortion of balance. And maybe at the end, the kids won't have to look at each other and say, what happened here? It was nice, but what happened? Thank you.